Hi, I'm doing day 210 and 211 in my Journey to Life blog series, and within these blogs I looked at self-acceptance. I'm looking at that point within many different blogs, and within this particular one I looked at being cool. And I looked at childhood memories in relation to myself feeling cool, seeing myself as cool, and how I kind of formed this idea of myself within childhood. There were 2 points that I looked at, 2 memories that came up, and one was me as a kid playing sports in the neighborhood. There's a group of kids that gathered and played in my neighborhood, mostly sports, and I was one of the better girls that played, and I could, compete with the boys and keep up with the boys and beat the boys at times, and so within that I, felt cool within myself, and, I got respect from the other kids, and within getting respect and, being seen as, good at sports, that made me feel cool within myself, like I'm cool, I'm a cool person in the group. And so, defining myself based on this point of being good at sports in my group of friends as a kid. So that was one memory that I was holding on to. The second one was within my family. I have a big family. I have 5 sisters, so we're known around our town. Our town's kind of like a small town, and everyone knows us because we also all look alike. So, if you saw one of us, you'd know that we were our family because we all just look alike. So, a lot of people in the town know of us because of school and, all of us just growing up here. And so as a kid, all my sisters are older than me, so I always had my sisters to look up to. And as I grew up, I always looked at them to see, what was cool and what music to listen to, what clothes to wear. And as I started to kind of get into school, realizing myself as like a social person, I was around like 3rd or 4th grade. And so I started getting into music and stuff. And I remember like taking tapes from my sisters and listening to them and like trying to figure out what was cool to listen to. And within my 2 older sisters that were like the next age up, they were a few years older than me, so when I was kind of at that age where I was trying to be cool, they were in high school, so they were like cool as in being in high school. Like, I always looked at that as like a cool thing. And so, within myself, I saw them as cool. Like, they had friends, they had, they were always getting into trouble, and not always getting into trouble, but there's a lot of interesting fights and discussions between my parents and them that I overheard. And so kind of through just hearing them, observing them, and kind of defining what I liked within what they were doing, I kind of designed myself in this cool way. And because I saw them as cool and my family as like a cool family because, we were well known, then I saw myself as I'm cool, I'm from a cool family, and I have to be cool. So at like age 4, in like 4th grade, 5th grade, I was very into being cool. Cool as in not nerdy. Like, playing sports was a cool thing. Like, I defined playing sports and being good at sports was, you're definitely cool. Obviously being popular, you're definitely cool. And so, you know, going into middle school, I had this definition of I have to be cool. I'm cool because I'm from this family and my sisters are cool and I have to be cool. I have to live up to this expectation of everyone in town that we have to be cool because I'm from this, you know, my sisters are cool, so I'm related to them, so I have to be cool. And so I built this whole idea in my mind up, and then in middle school it all blew in my face. So it was interesting. Because, like, I'm going to get into the middle school years later. Not right at this moment, but it was that time period in my life was very interesting. And so, you know, just I did self-forgiveness on just holding on to these memories of, you know, the childhood, playing the sports, and defining myself as cool because of, you know, being good at sports and being able to beat the boys and compete with the boys. And then defining myself as more than the girls in the neighborhood and seeing them as, like, weaker and not as cool as me because they couldn't play sports, and they didn't even want to play sports. In my mind, I just created this whole point of they're weak, they're not good at sports, they can't play sports, so they're not as cool as me. I'm so cool because I'm, you know, a good sports player. So I'm actually in my blogs right now, I'm writing about the sports point specifically, so if you want to read about the sports point, you can go onto my blog and check it out. I think it's day 221 I started it. So if you're interested in that, go for it. But anyway, so I did the forgiveness on, you know, holding on to these memories, holding on to the feelings that were within the memories of, you know, thinking about my sisters and, like, what I'm going to be when I get into middle school, you know, in relation to this idea that I'm going to portray to the, you know, the kids, and how I'm going to be cool with how I dress and, you know, what I talk about with music, and, you know, I can compete with all the kids in gym and outside in the playground, and so I'll be all set there. So just, like, creating this whole point in my head of what I'm going to do, like preparing myself, but then going to school so I make sure that I'm cool. And so it's just interesting, you know, how me as a kid in my mind kind of created these fantasy imagination points with them, like creating whole personality characters in my mind of what I'm going to be like when I go into middle school. How I'm going to be cool. So it's funny and informative to realize, you know, how I'm defining myself within myself now, and still these memories and, like, this point of thinking back and getting these feelings of, you know, I called it elation, kind of like this happiness feeling of what it was like, and how I kind of interpret it back then, and how it kind of formed into this memory. And when it comes up, the feeling is like happiness and elation because of my standing back then in my group of friends. So it was interesting, and the commitments were just stopping the thought patterns of and the memories of, you know, accepting these, you know, feelings of happiness and elation based on holding on to these memories of seeing myself as cool, and stop defining myself as cool, because obviously that is showing that I don't see myself as cool, and I'm not accepting myself in this way, so I'm trying to look for it in other people. And so this whole point of superior inferiority ties into this polarity. And I did self-forgiveness and commitments on that to stop that. And that's pretty much it for these blogs. I'll post them in the links below if you want to check the self-forgiveness, the writing portion, how we do that. And thanks for listening.